This is the Charcoal Poi tutorial. I'm gonna show you guys today how to make charcoal cages. This is the material you're gonna need. Wire cutters or wire snips. These are needlenose pliers or long nose pliers. Aviation snips. These are straight ones. This is the metal that you're gonna use. This first one is called hardware cloth is what I found, and it comes in 1/4 inch squares. And then the other one, 16 gauge wire, and they're inch squares. Last item you'll need is this steel wire. This is 17 gauge. Open this up, grab your wire cutters, and we're going to go ahead and cut that all the way up. Leave these ends on. Count 5 up from this, okay? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to cut it right there. You should have 2 of those. Now, when you bend these, you're going to overlap 1 square. So it should look like that when you're done. Now you take this one, and you bend it in and around. You're going to take this one, bend it the opposite way, but inside that square and around. So it look like that. See how it holds it on there? Don't worry about it being perfect. We have 4 more of them sticking up. So what we're going to do is take these 2 on this side and bend them that direction. These 2 on that side, bend them that direction, and in and around. This is where the pliers start coming in handy. You can see right here where I bent the wire down, in and around. So I just keep going along that diagonal and I bend it again, and then you can take the pliers, clamp on it, and just pinch it and rotate the pliers, and that'll tighten it. Okay, just rotate them around like that. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and try and make it as round as possible, and all you do is just use your hands and bend it accordingly until you get a nice looking cylinder. With the 12 by 5 cage, what you do is you measure a 9 square bottom for it, okay, with all the pieces still sticking off on the ends. How you want to attach this to the cage is you want to center that 9 square as close as you can to the bottom. Just like we bent the other stuff, we're going to bend this onto it and just keep going all the way around and keep bending. Okay, so this is what we should be looking like now. Now comes the wrist wrenching time. Okay, you're going to bend all these wires around and make it look pretty. Okay, so this is the finished product. Once you got your cages, you're ready to put the linings on them. Now the lining, you use that hardware cloth. We're going to make a lining on the interior and the exterior. We're going to start on the interior first. What we're going to do is put 3 screens in the bottom of this thing. During this step of putting the 3 screens in the bottom of your cylinder, the spiky parts on the outside of the screens will hold onto that internal cage. The tutorial that you're watching, you'll see that I place the screens in the base first, and then I place the internal cage on. I now prefer to put the 3 screens in the base after I have done the hardware cloth on the interior. Take a piece like such, put it on the top right there, cut it in a circle with the aviation snips. Make 3 of these. All you do is you take the screen that you sized the first time and you just put it over the top, lining up the 1/4 inch squares. And then you just cut with the aviation snips and trace around it. So you should have 2 cages and 6 screens. Take the screen and you just slide it on in. So your first one should look like that. When you put this second one in here, make sure that it's tilted so you make X's in the bottom. When you put the third one in, same thing, you're going to want to try and make it at a different angle than the other ones. What it looks like with 3 of them in there. And you measure just approximately the circumference. So we're just going to take the cloth like this and just wrap it around until you get an approximate length that you're going to need. And once you have the approximate, just mark it and you're ready to cut. It helps to put your foot, I put my foot on this part and I lift up and then I can continue to cut. So that's what I'm doing. So you just measure the height by putting it here and you make sure that it's even with the bottom. If this is the top right here, we're going to count 1, 2 squares. So that leaves ½ inch. That's a ½ inch that we're going to bend over the lip of this. And when you cut, I'm going to show you, you want to cut up here so you leave spiky things. Fold it in a nice little circle or cylinder. With the pointy parts right here, we put that inside the cage. And once you get that inside the cage, you're going to go ahead and push it all the way to the outside. See where it's overlapping? It's overlapping about that much. Okay, we only want it to overlap about maybe 1 to 2 of these squares. Okay, so about a 1/4 inch to a ½ inch. Go ahead and pull it out and cut that excess off. This is going to be pointy on this side. It's pointy up here, and you have a smooth side and a smooth side. When you roll this and you stick it in the cage, those pokies you want on this side to be on the inside of the cage when it overlaps. Because if that makes sense, it almost, it's like a, it locks in place like that. When you're doing this, if you roll it up smaller than the inside, so it's a lot smaller, and it's really easy to put it inside all the way down to the base. You just want to make sure that it's all the way flush with the bottom, and you put your hand inside and you push all the cage as much as you can to the shape of the cage. Cut about inch sections in the ½ inch that we left sticking up over the top. It's about every inch cut down, inch, cut down, inch, cut down. And you can hear approximately too, it's like 1, 2, 3. Measure an inch, 1, 2, 3. And cut that all the way around. And then you bend these around, and that helps hold it all in place. So go ahead and bend all the way around. That's the interior with the 3 on the bottom as well. Now we're going to do one more. We're going to wrap it around the outside, and then we're going to do the same thing with the top, leave a ½ inch, but we're going to bend it on the interior. The pieces that you wrapped around right here, this is where it's doubled up. Okay, we're going to want to cut those pieces off. Reason being is we're going to cut a hole right here, and that's where you link around the chain or whatever device you're going to hold this to spin it around with. So you want to have one here that you do that to, and if we go directly across, looks like it would be right here. So I'm going to cut this one off and this one off, and just leave a little bit to where you can wrap the wire back around under it. Okay, so now our constructed cage design should have a hole that you cut right here in it, and directly across you're going to cut another hole. Okay, you usually do it where it's doubled up for strength, because you're going to loop something around here and loop something around here, put it to your poi handle. So now once you measured and you cut the piece of hardware cloth to go around the exterior, you're going to wrap it around, and as you see right here, I've overlapped it about, what is that, a ½ inch, and I left some of the pokey parts on the exterior. And those pokey parts you're going to bend inward with the needle-nose pliers. Just like the interior skeleton, you're going to cut every about like inch or so on this with the aviation snips and bend it, fold it inwards. Also, one more thing to note is it should be flush with the base. In fact, it's better if it's not poking outside this bottom part of the cage. This is one of the trickiest parts of making these cages, is we're going to take this wire now and wrap it around. As you can see, I've attached the wire right here, But before I did that, I bent the tip of the wire and I made a little loop. That way I could stick it inside, loop it around the internal cage. And now I have like this little teeny loop part sticking up right there. Take the pliers on top of it, if that makes any sense. Take the pliers right there and keep twisting. You're going to put one here and you're going to put one up here as well. Okay, once you've completely wrapped those two wires around right there, those two sections, and you've tightened everything, you can pull down on the wire, okay? Make sure you leave enough room. I'm going to make the other one probably about right here, wrap it around, that way I can pull it up. The last part is, because we put an exterior shell on here, we have to cut the holes that lined up with the other holes that we made. Okay, so that's pretty much it right there. I've cut the last two holes in the material, so I have a hole right here, a hole right here. As far as the construction of the charcoal cage goes, that's pretty much it. That's one of them. Just go ahead and make another one and you're ready for part 2.